Ever since we met Grand Regent Thragg in Season 4 of... a few of y'all have asked me if Thragg could defeat DC's Superman in a fight. Well, come talk nerdy with me and let's figure out this crossover battle. Some spoilers ahead for Invincible. So before we talk about who would win in a fight, let's first break down each of these characters' origins and powers, starting with Thragg. Thragg was born thousands of years ago on the planet Viltrum, but unlike other Viltrumites, Thragg's birth was pre-planned. See, the Viltrumites wanted to create the perfect Viltrumite, so they found two of the strongest, most genetically gifted Viltrumites they could find, and basically were just like, now kiss. And all those good genes from those Viltrumites passed down to their baby, Thragg. And once Thragg was born, his childhood went much differently than other Viltrumites. Because for most Viltrumite children, they're basically left to fend for themselves, to grow and prove their strength and worthiness of actually being true Viltrumites. But Thragg was given special treatment because he was trained all the way from childhood in combat, strength and conditioning, and warfare, making him into the perfect warrior. And by the time he reached adulthood, he was already the most powerful of all the Viltrumites. It was a really good workout program. Once he became an adult, Thragg was granted the position of regent to serve under the Emperor Argel. Then after Argel's death, Thragg was promoted to Grand Regent. Basically, he was the ruler of all the Viltrumites. And he would remain so for centuries, even after the Scourge virus nearly wiped out all of the Viltrumites. With little less than 50 Viltrumites remaining, Thragg stood strong and continued to push for the expansion of the Viltrum Empire. He was literally built for this life. So what exactly are Thragg's powers? Well, like all Viltrumites, Thragg has super strength, speed, durability, super senses, he can fly, but his genetics and his intense training from childhood makes him much more powerful than all other Viltrumites. Even Conquest, who's stated to be the second strongest of all Viltrumites, is leagues beneath Thragg. Like, the power difference is insane. Thragg is so strong that the force of him pulling back his punch created a vortex that pulled Omni-Man towards him, and then he uppercuts him out of orbit into deep space. He can move so fast that not even powerful Viltrumites like Thetis could react to him in time before, his head gets ripped off. Thragg is durable enough to withstand the heat of the sun while fighting inside of it. Now, the sun would eventually kill him if he stayed in it for too long, but still, he was fighting inside of the sun and still alive. Like, that's crazy. And even if someone was able to hurt Thragg, he has a crazy healing factor. There's a time in the comics where he got jumped by a group of Ragnar. You know, those creatures that easily tear apart Viltrumites? Well, a group of them attacked Thragg and they slashed him up something fierce. But not only did Thragg manage to beat off the Ragnar, but his wounds were able to heal fast enough for him to be able to fight Battle Beast for several days straight. Thragg is insane. And on top of all of his powers, Thragg is a master at hand-to-hand combat, he's a military strategist, and he's thousands of years old, so the dude has experience. So by far, Grand Regent Thragg is one of, if not the most powerful character in the Invincible universe. Like, the dude is a monster. But even someone as powerful as him has his weaknesses. Firstly, if he's fighting someone with equal or greater strength than him, mainly like another Viltrumite or Battle Beast, Thragg could be harmed. Then there's the Scourge virus, which is this deadly disease that targets specifically Viltrumites. You also have like sonic waves or sonic noises that affect their super hearing. It really hurts them. But Thragg's biggest weakness is his own pride, because he is toxic masculinity personified. If Thragg feels like someone is getting over on him, like, that man loses his mind. All logic and reasoning just go out the window and he's just in a blind rage. And someone can take advantage of that. Now you're probably thinking, man, this Thragg dude sounds like an absolute monster. What is Goody Two-Shoes Superman gonna do against this guy? Well, let's talk about Superman. Now, you probably already know Superman's origin, but just in case you don't, Superman was born on a planet called Krypton, and Krypton was about to be destroyed. But before it could, Superman's biological parents built a rocket ship and they put a baby Superman inside of it and then shot it off into space. Eventually, Superman's rocket would crash land on Earth, where he was found and adopted by Martha and Jonathan Kent, and they raised him to love and cherish all life. And as he grew older, Superman would develop powers that he would use to be a superhero. And as Superman, he saved the Earth and, in fact, the entire universe countless times. So what can Superman do that will help him in his fight against Grand Regent Thragg? So Superman is a Kryptonian, and Kryptonians have a similar power set to Viltrumites. So that means Superman has all the basics: super strength, speed, senses, durability, and he can fly. But unlike Viltrumites, Superman's Kryptonian biology grants him powers by absorbing solar energy, mainly yellow sun energy. So basically, Viltrumites just have all their abilities, while Kryptonians need to be charged up first. But Superman being raised on Earth, which, orbits a yellow sun, means that he is super charged up. And because he's super charged up, Superman is able to do insane things, like be strong enough to contain a black hole in his hands. He can move so fast that he could be in a fist fight with Darkseid, the literal embodiment of evil in the universe, and rescue civilians at the same time. Darkseid didn't even notice he was doing that. He has a protective aura around himself and a nearly indestructible body that can withstand nuclear explosions. And unlike the Viltrumites, Superman's Kryptonian biology grants him additional powers. I'm talking heat vision, frost breath, X-ray vision, sonic claps. His brain can process information faster than a supercomputer. Superman's powers can become even more powerful though if he sun dips, or basically flies into a yellow sun. The power boost he gets from that is astronomical. But despite how crazy powerful Superman is, he is also not without weakness. Firstly, Superman is vulnerable to magic, so if he was fighting a wizard and they shot him with a fire spell, he would get burned. If Superman's body absorbs solar energy from a red sun, it takes away his powers, basically making him human. But Superman's most famous weakness is kryptonite, which completely debilitates him, like he's completely worthless around kryptonite. And the longer that he's around it, the higher the chance it is that it might unalive him. So now that we know about the strength and weaknesses of both Thragg and Superman, who would win in a fight? For the purpose of this fight, I'm going to say it's a random encounter and neither of them are aware of each other prior to this fight, just to make it fair. But before I go deeper into this, let me know in the comments, who do you think would win in a fight between Thragg and Superman? So here's how I see a fight between Thragg and Superman going down. So Thragg's gonna arrive on the DC Earth seeking to conquer it, and at first he's gonna ask for its peaceful surrender, like, this is now the territory of the Viltrum Empire, surrender or be destroyed, things like that. And then Superman will arrive to kindly ask Thragg to leave, which is all the resistance that Thragg is willing to put up with, and he immediately attacks Superman, punching him through several buildings at once. Thragg will press his attack on Superman, and the force of his movements will cause more destruction of the city, which causes Superman to disengage from the fight and try to rescue civilians. But every time Superman rescues someone, Thragg is immediately on top of him, just beating him down. But after a while, Thragg starts to notice what Superman is doing, and one, he commends Superman on his ability of, lasting this long against him, but he also criticizes him for risking his life for a worthless race like humanity. Ouch. Thragg will use Superman's love of humanity against him, and he'll backhand the air, creating a gust of wind that collapses a building on top of a group of civilians. I don't know if Thragg can actually do that, but I feel like he's strong enough to. Superman is able to fly underneath the building and catch it before it can crush the civilians though, and it gives them time to escape. But then Thragg rushes Superman, and Superman just drops the building on top of both of them. Superman will break out of the rubble first, followed by Thragg, who reaches out to choke Superman, but Superman will then just use his frost breath on him, freezing Thragg in place. Superman will probably say something clever like, cool off before he tries to fly off to see if any other civilians need help. Thragg would break out of the ice and grab Superman's leg before he can fly off, and he'll just start whipping him around the ground hecka hard and before throwing him into another building. We're getting like Man of Steel level destruction here, but minus the casualties, because this Superman is actually doing a good job. Superman manages to pull himself up, and he starts to realize that he needs to stop taking Thragg so lightly. It's time to lock in. Thragg will suddenly be in front of Superman, and he'll wind up that nasty uppercut that creates a vortex, pulling everything towards him, except Superman. And Thragg connects the uppercut right in Superman's jaw, but Superman doesn't budge. And for the first time in this fight, Thragg's gonna step away from Superman. His fist is hurting him, and he's shocked that Superman is still standing. And that's when Superman's gonna hit him with the "my turn." And he'll throw an uppercut of his own before Thragg could even react, and he'll get sent flying. Superman's gonna hit him with that Injustice finishing move, punching him again and again through the sky, sending him all the way across the globe, all the way to the Arctic. And once they're there, Superman's gonna hit Thragg with a devastating punch that sends Thragg crashing down into the ice below. Thragg will slowly crawl his way out of the ice crater, but he is not doing good. His lip is busted, he probably has a concussion, but worst of all, his pride has been hurt. And Superman will be hovering above him, giving him one last chance to surrender. But Thragg is just gonna rage out like, "I am the Grand Regent of the Viltrum Empire, like I'm the strongest warrior in the universe, you can't stop me." And Superman's gonna say something clean like, "No, you're just a bully." And that will trigger Thragg, and he'll go to attack Superman again. And Thragg will just start punching Superman over and over and over again, but none of his hits are having any effect on Superman. But Thragg won't stop. He'll just keep punching until he is absolutely exhausted to the point where he can't even lift his arms up anymore. But now with Thragg too exhausted to defend himself, Superman knocks him unconscious with a good old-fashioned punch to the face. And then I see Superman taking Thragg's unconscious body to the Fortress of Solitude, where he'll trap Thragg in the Phantom Zone, where he can't hurt anybody else ever again. So in the fight between Thragg and Superman, Superman would be the winner. While yes, Thragg is thousands of years old and he is incredibly powerful, but Superman's strength and speed and all his other abilities are just far beyond what Thragg is capable of. I can see Thragg punching Superman around for a bit, but like most supervillains, Thragg just doesn't have the power necessary to put Superman down for good. Like eventually, Superman will just overwhelm Thragg. Now, is there a scenario where Thragg could defeat Superman? Of course there is. If Thragg was aware of magic, red solar energy, or kryptonite, I guarantee he would definitely use that against Superman. Viltrumites do not fight fair. But the thing about Thragg and Viltrumites in general is that they just fly face first into a battle, assuming that they're the strongest, so they don't really need strategy. So Thragg would have to first get whooped on by Superman, then somehow escape him, and then come back with a plan. So if that was the case, I could see Thragg defeating Superman, but there's a lot of steps to get there, and even then, it's not guaranteed. But what do you think of my breakdown? Do you agree that Superman would defeat Thragg, or do you think it would go the other way? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you missed my previous discussions talking about Grand Regent Thragg in the Invincible series, go ahead and click on the box right here, and I'll see you in a bit.